Hey, hey, hey. That was a terrible attempt at an impression. It is about 6 a.m. and it's a challenge to be animated and excited when you're trying to also talk a little bit quietly. And I actually have been up since about 4. Sleep is such a weird thing. It's so strange. I slept until 10 a.m. yesterday morning and I felt dead. I was seriously in like physical pain. And then last night I went to bed at probably 10:30, closer to 11, and this morning here I am. I wake up at 4 because I think I hear the sprinklers splashing around or something, and I get up and I look and everything's fine. It was actually birds chirping. It was just this very distant thing. And so yeah, and I can't go back to sleep. So here I am. And I just am checking in. I've realized a couple things, man. The video editing in the past few days has been crazy, and it's so shocking when you try to make a good YouTube video and you realize that just setting up the recording and knowing how you're going to record takes a little while, and then it takes easily twice as long as the recording to edit, and that's just for a quick going through and taking out all my ums and awkward pauses and weird comments that I make on the side. That's not actually making the video beautiful or anything like that. And then once the editing is done, then you have to hit publish, and that's luckily just something that you just wait for. It happens on its own. But you have to hit publish and you have to wait for it to actually get up to YouTube, and then you have to make some tweaks once it's there, like adding it to the playlist and making little cards show up on it or something like that. So so this is definitely, well, this is a great experience for me, because thinking about becoming a YouTuber or something like that, which was never my goal with this 30-day challenge. It really was to feel the positive voice. It's just eye-opening now that now that I'm trying something. So getting to the business at hand, some of the times when it's hardest for me to listen to the positive voice are when I'm tired or when I'm overly stressed. And I won't even go into stress. Stress, I think, is very multifaceted, but let's just say when I'm tired. I woke up this morning and I felt terrible, and I had a really weird dream about some guy running a business, but there was a big giant fire, and all of $100 million of his business's money which was basically all the money, was in a safe that was going to get burned, and it was about ready to kill people and all this kind of stuff. And it was a very weird dream, and I woke up kind of stressed already from that dream. But then I was just laying there thinking about how stupid everything that I'm doing is, and how I'm never going to get my goals of being location independent, and how really who am I to actually make some kind of a company, and that's not going to work. And then I mean, I don't know. I can keep on going on all of the different things, all the different negative things that were coming to my mind. I dug down and I found I remembered something that Eckhart Tolle had said, and he talks about shining the light of your consciousness on negative thoughts that are in your mind. And you don't try to make them go away. You just watch them. Watching them is different than listening to them or being absorbed from them, because what you're actually doing is, it's as if you're detaching yourself from yourself, and then you look back at yourself and you see what is going on in your brain, and you hear the thoughts and everything like that, but you don't give them any weight or value, and you and you don't judge them. You don't say, oh, you're bad, oh, I want you to go away, or anything like that. You just watch them as a neutral third-party observer. So I did that, and it was amazing, because again, when you have these vague negative feelings and thoughts, well, what my brain does, okay, so when you have these vague negative feelings and thoughts, that is a great indication that that is the negative voice, and that's not something that's true. What my brain does is it tells me this is a problem and you need to focus on it. Even though it's not a problem, my brain will grip me and tell me that it's a problem. Brains are really weird, and consciousness is really weird. And there's a lot of philosophy and neuroscience and all that trying to figure out what's going on. The fact of the matter is, it's so weird to be able to think about yourself and to be able to say, my brain did this, but I wanted something different. And who's the I and who's the brain and how is this, and do you have different parts? And it's well documented, apparently, from the things that I've listened to, that a lot of your the reasoning for your actions actually comes from, what is it called, the hypothalamus or the amygdala, the ancient, the core basic part of your brain that is basically just trying to get you to avoid destruction and to get basic pleasures. I would suspect that it's a similar thing where the habits, the thought patterns and thought habits that I have developed over decades are very deep in my brain as well. And they probably come out when my conscious brain is at its worst and when I'm just in like basic survival mode. As a result of that, it's really nice. It's a good idea to put a scaffolding in place so that when you're in that mode, and I would call that an environment or a framework. That's the word I was looking for. It's very nice to put a framework in place so that when you are struggling because of these thoughts and feelings that come up that you did not want, and maybe you're just tired or stressed or something, that you have something to fall back to. I have a lot of great, interesting stuff that I'm subscribed to on YouTube, or that I'm subscribed to on a podcast, or books that are laying around that I can pick up and read, or habits that I have formed about meditation in the morning or working out or things like that. All of those things help me to get out of that state. So I think it's very important to set up guidelines for yourself and say, as I go through and try to make changes in my life and try to craft the life that I want, I will encounter difficulties and obstacles and struggles and resistance from multiple sources, but also just from within myself when nothing in the environment is wrong. It is just from inside of myself. And I know already a lot of things that I can do to counteract that resistance. And again, it's also important to remember, though, similar to the watching, where you don't judge it, you don't try and make it go away. It's in a very similar way, when you encounter resistance, you don't fight against the resistance. You don't say, no, I am going to get rid of you and I'm going to think positively.
This is a lovely children's carnival, god damn it!
You don't, I mean, aside from the fact, even if you do that non-angrily, even if you say, no, positive, positive, positive. I mean, actually, if you do just think the positive thoughts, then that will probably do it. But you can't do it with this mindset of running, or with this feeling of running away, or with this feeling of burying down the negative. It's like accepting what is now. You have to allow it to be, but at the same time choose to move in the direction that you want to go. And say, yes, this is here now. I acknowledge it, but I want to move this other way. Because when you have that feeling of much less resistance in your mind and in your body, then it opens you up to be able to, I guess, just much more easily feel the positive. And that's also something that I have been pondering and struggling with recently, is in terms of a job. I mean, it's true that there are people in the world who encounter suboptimal conditions, and especially they encounter those conditions from other people. I mean, I can sit here and talk about positivity and happiness all I want, but it's a fact that there are some people out there trying to do harm to other people, or trying to do harm to other countries, or whatever it may be. And it may not be important to have people out there who are fighting, because if we stopped fighting, perhaps that would help lessen the resistance. But it's a fact that resistance is a part of life. It will happen. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't think that it's realistic in the world to say, oh, I'm just going to completely turn my back on all forms of negativity, and I will never resist anything, and I will just completely, I will never stand for anything, I will never do anything, because I will just be happy all the time. And I think what that probably boils down to is listening to the positive voice and saying, what am I in a position to do? What do I believe in? What do I not believe in? How can I support? I mean, even I look at America, I think that America has been a net positive benefit for the world. I think that the fact that we went from dictatorship to very much more of a middle class and an egalitarian society, I think America really forced that. And I think that America was hugely adversarial and offensive and imperialist and a lot of things that I would view as not very positive. I think that we did a lot of those things in our past. And to me, I guess the best way that I can reconcile this in my mind is by saying how important it is to listen to the positive voice for you. And if you feel so inclined to join the military and go fight, and it's not out of a feeling of darkness and anger and all of those things that I mentioned with the negative voice, then perhaps that's what you should do. I personally feel very inclined to do martial arts of some sort and to have my kids do martial arts of some sort. That is not necessarily a passive thing, but that's what I feel very, very drawn towards. I do not at all feel drawn towards the military or other kinds of defense things, but I also don't feel drawn to want to stop them, and I really appreciate them. I think that everybody can play their part, and we can all be grateful for the parts that other people play. And in fact, things like what I am drawn to about parenting and things will help the people who were drawn towards military and defense industries, because a lot of the times they can have struggles in their personal lives or things, and their work in the military and defense industry helps me to raise my kids in a safe and happy place. So it's very much a virtuous cycle, and I think that's the best way to look at it, is what is your thing? What is the positive voice inside of you pulling you towards, in a positive way, leading you towards, guiding you towards, like inspiring you towards, lifting you towards, whatever word you want to use, but it's not running away, it's moving towards. And that's a really important thing. So that's a question I'm going to keep asking myself. Right now, it's moving me towards finishing this 30-day challenge and opening my mind and being positive and optimistic about the other opportunities that are out there. And really, there's no reason for me to doubt and fear. I have enough time to be retrained completely on a new career and get a completely different job if I really needed to. So right now, it is about listening to the positive voice for myself, and that is what I'm going to do. So, all right, talk to you later.